For thousands of years, the world's greatest archaeological discoveries remained hidden beneath the ground. Beneath deserts, mountain valleys, fertile plains and forgotten ruins, entire civilizations waited in silence. Archaeologists have uncovered cities buried for millennia, royal palaces frozen in time, vast cemeteries stretching beyond the horizon, and fortresses that once guarded powerful kingdoms. Every excavation reveals new evidence of remarkable engineering, forgotten cultures, and lives preserved beneath centuries of earth. With each layer carefully removed, the ancient world becomes more complex, more surprising, and far more extraordinary than anyone once imagined, proving that history still holds countless secrets beneath our feet. Kültepe district. The dusty plains of central Turkey don't immediately suggest that they once hosted one of the busiest commercial centres in the ancient world. Today, the landscape appears quiet. Low mounds rise gently above the surrounding fields, their weathered slopes giving little hint of what lies beneath. But hidden below these layers of earth is a city that connected kingdoms, carried fortunes across mountains, and transformed the way people traded nearly 4,000 years ago. This is Kültepe, the ancient city of Kanesh, and beside it stood the Kağrım district, one of the world's earliest known international trading settlements. Its excavation has revealed not only streets and houses, but thousands of written records that allow us to hear the voices of merchants who lived almost 4 millennia ago. Long before vast empires dominated the Near East, central Anatolia was already becoming an important crossroads. The region sat between Mesopotamia to the south and rich mineral resources farther north and west. Copper, silver, gold, and valuable textiles moved constantly across these routes. As trade expanded, foreign merchants began establishing permanent communities within Anatolian cities. Among the most successful was the Assyrian merchant colony at Kanesh. Known in ancient Akkadian as the Kağrım, the settlement functioned as a thriving commercial district where traders lived, worked, and stored their goods. Unlike military conquests, this was an expansion driven by commerce. Assyrian merchants travelled hundreds of kilometres from the city of Ashur, bringing fine textiles and tin used in the production of bronze. In return, they purchased silver, gold, and other valuable resources from Anatolia. The journey itself could take weeks. Caravans crossed rivers, mountain passes, and open plains, facing harsh weather, bandits, and political uncertainty along the way. Yet the profits were great enough that merchants continued making the trip, generation after generation. Excavations at Kültepe have revealed an astonishingly well-planned settlement. Narrow streets ran between densely packed mud brick houses. Many buildings contained storage rooms, private courtyards, workshops, and living quarters arranged around central spaces. Unlike the monumental palaces often associated with ancient cities, the Kağrım district was filled primarily with the homes and businesses of ordinary merchants. Here, trade was not simply an activity. It was everyday life. Every street echoed with negotiation, bookkeeping, packing goods, and preparing caravans for journeys across the ancient Near East. Perhaps the greatest discovery at Kültepe was not made of stone, but of clay. Archaeologists uncovered more than 20,000 cuneiform tablets, making this one of the richest archives from the ancient world. These small tablets preserve contracts, receipts, letters, marriage agreements, legal disputes, business partnerships, and personal correspondence. For the first time, historians could study the daily lives of ordinary people rather than kings alone. The tablets transformed Kültepe into one of the most important archaeological sites for understanding Bronze Age society. The letters reveal surprisingly familiar concerns. Merchants worried about delayed shipments, they argued over debts, they negotiated prices, they requested additional investment from business partners. Some wrote home asking about their families, others complained about dishonest associates or difficult travel conditions. One merchant might spend years away from home while maintaining constant communication through written correspondence carried by caravans. Although separated from us by nearly 4,000 years, their voices feel remarkably human. Women also played a significant role within this commercial network. While many merchants travelled abroad, their wives often remained in Ashur, managing family finances, producing textiles, and supervising household businesses. Some letters demonstrate that women controlled valuable property, negotiated contracts, and made important financial decisions independently. The archives reveal a far more complex economic society than historians once imagined, one in which trade depended upon entire families working together across vast distances. The Kurum itself operated under unique legal arrangements. Although Assyrian merchants lived among Anatolian rulers, they maintained many of their own commercial customs and legal practices. Business disputes were carefully documented. Loans carried specific interest rates. Partnership agreements defined profits and responsibilities. Every important transaction generated another clay tablet. This careful record-keeping helped create trust between merchants separated by hundreds of kilometres. In many ways, the Kurum functioned as one of the earliest organised international business communities. Yet prosperity did not last forever. Around the early 2nd millennium BCE, the settlement suffered a devastating fire. Many buildings collapsed. Wooden roofs burned away. Families fled. Ironically, the destruction preserved countless clay tablets. The intense heat baked the unfired clay into durable ceramic, allowing thousands of documents to survive until modern archaeologists uncovered them thousands of years later. Without that catastrophic fire, much of what we know about the Kurum might have disappeared forever. Excavations continue to reveal new sections of the settlement. Archaeologists carefully uncover additional houses, workshops, storehouses, and streets, each adding another piece to the city's remarkable history. Modern scientific techniques, including environmental analysis and digital mapping, are helping researchers reconstruct how merchants lived, how goods moved through the district, and how this commercial community evolved over centuries. The tower houses of the Batamariba. The Batamariba people have lived in this region for hundreds of years. Their homeland stretches across the Atacora Mountains, an area of rocky hills, seasonal rivers, and fertile valleys. Rather than building large towns, families traditionally established individual compounds separated by farmland. Each household became an independent centre of daily life, where generations lived together under the same carefully constructed roof. The landscape itself became a network of family strongholds rather than crowded villages. Every tower house follows a design refined over countless generations, built almost entirely from local materials. The structures rise 2 or sometimes 3 levels high. Thick earthen walls provide insulation against intense daytime heat, while remaining warm during cooler nights. Wooden beams reinforce the walls, supporting upper floors used for storage and living space. Despite their simple appearance, these buildings represent an impressive understanding of engineering, climate, and the properties of natural materials. Construction requires extraordinary skill. Builders mix clay with water and organic fibres, layering the material by hand until thick walls gradually emerge. Unlike fired bricks, the earthen walls remain breathable, helping regulate humidity inside the home. The rounded towers distribute weight evenly, reducing structural stress while resisting seasonal rains. Every doorway, every staircase, and every roof terrace serves a practical purpose shaped by centuries of experience. The tower houses are often compared to fortresses, and with good reason. For much of their history, the Batamariba lived in regions affected by conflict, slave raids, and political instability. Their homes provided protection as well as shelter. Entrances remained narrow and easily defended. Upper levels could be reached by removable ladders. Food supplies were stored safely above ground. Livestock occupied protected spaces below. In times of danger, entire families could retreat inside these fortified homes. Yet defense tells only part of the story. For the Batamariba, the house is also a deeply spiritual place. Construction follows traditional customs passed down through generations. Specific areas within the compound are reserved for ancestral shrines, ceremonial objects, and ritual offerings. The architecture reflects the community's beliefs about family, nature, ancestors, and the balance between the physical and spiritual worlds. A tower house is not simply built. It is created as part of a living cultural tradition. Each section of the compound serves a distinct purpose. The ground floor often shelters animals during the night, protecting valuable livestock from predators. Upper rooms store grain harvested during the growing season. Flat roof terraces provide space for drying crops, preparing food, or observing the surrounding landscape. Circular towers contain sleeping quarters, while courtyards become centres of family life where cooking, craft work, and celebrations take place. The entire structure functions as a carefully organised living system. Archaeologists and anthropologists have long studied these remarkable buildings, although individual houses require regular maintenance. Their design has remained remarkably consistent across generations. This continuity offers a rare opportunity to understand architectural traditions that have survived with relatively little alteration. The Bata Mariba continue using construction methods that depend almost entirely upon local knowledge rather than industrial technology. Each new house preserves techniques learned directly from earlier builders. The surrounding landscape is equally important. Fields, sacred groves, paths, and water sources are carefully integrated into daily life. The position of each compound reflects practical needs, but also cultural traditions connected to family identity and ancestral land. Unlike cities planned around streets and monuments, the Bata Mariba landscape grows organically, each household maintaining its own relationship with the natural environment. Architecture and landscape become inseparable. Today, the tower houses of the Bata Mariba are recognised as one of Africa's greatest architectural treasures. Visitors often admire their striking appearance, but their true significance lies far beyond their unusual shape. These earthen towers preserve centuries of engineering knowledge, family tradition, spiritual belief, and cultural resilience. Built without modern machinery, using only materials gathered from the surrounding land, they continue to demonstrate how architecture can exist in complete harmony with both people and nature. Standing quietly among the hills, the tower houses remind us that some of humanity's greatest achievements are not found in vast cities or monumental palaces, but in the enduring homes where ordinary families built extraordinary lives. The beehive houses of Harran. Harran has been inhabited for thousands of years. Its location made it one of the most important crossroads of the ancient Near East. Caravans carrying silk, spices, textiles, and precious metals passed through its gates. The city became known to the Assyrians, Babylonians, Romans, and later the Islamic world. It was also an important centre of astronomy, mathematics, and philosophy, where scholars gathered to preserve and expand ancient knowledge. Through every era, Harran remained connected to the wider world. The famous beehive houses were perfectly suited to the region's demanding climate. Summers across southeastern Turkey are intensely hot, while winters can become surprisingly cold. Rather than relying on timber, which was scarce across the surrounding plains, builders used sun-dried mud bricks made from local clay mixed with straw. The thick walls absorbed heat during the day and released it slowly after sunset, helping maintain a comfortable temperature throughout the year. Long before modern insulation, these homes naturally regulated their indoor climate. The most striking feature is the roof itself. Each dome rises in a graceful cone, built entirely from carefully stacked mud bricks, without the need for wooden beams. As each layer narrows toward the top, the structure becomes increasingly stable. The pointed design also allows rainwater to flow easily down the exterior, reducing erosion during seasonal storms. For centuries, this simple engineering solution has proven remarkably durable. Some houses have survived for generations with only regular maintenance. Inside, the homes are surprisingly spacious. Several connected domes often form a single family residence. Individual rooms serve different purposes: sleeping, cooking, storage, or receiving visitors. Small openings near the top of each dome allow warm air to escape, improving ventilation during the hottest months. The thick earthen walls also reduce outside noise, creating calm interiors despite the harsh climate beyond the doorway. Every element reflects generations of practical experience. Although many visitors admire the architecture for its unusual appearance, the houses are deeply connected to Harran's cultural identity. Families traditionally built new homes using communal labour. Construction techniques were passed from parents to children, preserving knowledge without written plans or formal engineering manuals. Each house reflected local customs, available materials, and the rhythms of daily life shaped by agriculture and trade. The settlement became both a home and a living expression of cultural continuity. Archaeologists believe the architectural tradition extends back many centuries, although the exact origins remain uncertain. The current houses are not prehistoric structures. Most standing examples were built or rebuilt during the Ottoman period and later. However, their design almost certainly preserves far older building traditions developed across Upper Mesopotamia. Ancient texts and historical illustrations suggest that conical mud brick houses have existed in this region for an exceptionally long time. The architecture represents continuity rather than a single moment in history. The surrounding city of Harran adds another layer to the story. Excavations have uncovered the remains of ancient walls, mosques, fortifications, bathhouses, and one of the earliest Islamic universities. Archaeological evidence reveals a city continuously occupied by different civilizations, each leaving behind traces of its own culture while adapting existing buildings. The beehive houses stand beside these ruins, connecting modern visitors to thousands of years of uninterrupted human history. Few places illustrate such a long architectural evolution within a single landscape. Today, only a portion of Harran's traditional beehive houses remain occupied. Many have been preserved as cultural landmarks, while others serve as museums, allowing visitors to experience their unique interiors. Conservation efforts seek to protect not only the buildings themselves, but also the traditional construction techniques that created them. As modern materials become increasingly common, the knowledge required to build these remarkable homes becomes ever more valuable. Preserving the houses also preserves the skills of the people who shaped them. Standing beneath the bright Anatolian sky, the beehive houses of Harran appear both ancient and timeless, built from nothing more than earth, water, straw, and human ingenuity. They have endured where many grander structures have disappeared. Their quiet domes remind us that history is not preserved only in temples or palaces. Sometimes, the greatest archaeological stories are found in the homes where ordinary people lived, raised families, welcomed travellers, and quietly carried forward traditions that survived for thousands of years. In the enduring silhouette of Harran's beehive houses, the wisdom of generations is still written in clay. The forgotten twin of the Basilica Cistern, the Theodosius Cistern. Deep beneath the crowded streets of Istanbul, where millions of people walk each day without a second thought, an extraordinary world lies hidden in silence. Most visitors know the famous Basilica Cistern, its forest of towering marble columns reflected in dark, still water, but only a short distance away. Another underground reservoir remained forgotten for centuries, buried beneath layers of history. Its immense vaulted chambers waited patiently beneath the city. This is the Theodosius Cistern, often called the forgotten twin of the Basilica Cistern, a remarkable engineering achievement that once helped sustain one of history's greatest cities. Nearly 16 centuries ago, Constantinople stood at the heart of the Eastern Roman Empire. As the capital expanded, its growing population demanded an increasingly reliable water supply. Natural springs alone could no longer meet the city's needs. Engineers responded with one of the most sophisticated water systems of the ancient world. Aqueducts carried fresh water across valleys and hills, feeding enormous underground reservoirs capable of storing vast quantities for times of drought or siege. Among these remarkable structures was the Theodosius Cistern. The cistern was constructed during the reign of Emperor Theodosius II, around the 5th century CE. Its purpose was straightforward but essential: to store clean water delivered from distant reservoirs outside the city walls, ensuring that palaces, public baths, fountains, and neighbourhoods could continue functioning even when supplies became uncertain. For the people of Constantinople, reliable water meant survival. Without these hidden reservoirs, the city could never have supported its enormous population. Unlike surface reservoirs exposed to sunlight, underground cisterns protected water from evaporation, contamination, and enemy attack. Massive brick vaults stretched across the chamber, supported by elegant marble columns arranged in orderly rows. The design distributed the enormous weight of the ceiling while creating vast, open spaces capable of holding thousands of cubic meters of water. Every column, every arch, and every brick reflected the extraordinary engineering skills of Byzantine builders. For centuries, the cistern quietly fulfilled its purpose beneath the bustling capital. Above ground, empires rose and fell, markets expanded, churches became mosques, palaces changed hands, entire neighbourhoods transformed through war. fire, and reconstruction. Yet beneath all this activity, the underground reservoir remained almost unchanged. Its cool darkness preserved the architecture while the city above evolved through more than 1,000 years of history. Eventually, advances in water distribution reduced the need for many ancient reservoirs. Some cisterns were abandoned, others were partially filled with soil and debris. As centuries passed, the Theodosius cistern gradually disappeared from public memory. Buildings were constructed overhead, roads crossed the site. Generations lived their lives without realizing that an immense Byzantine structure remained hidden directly beneath their feet. The city slowly buried one of its own greatest engineering achievements. Modern archaeological investigations revealed just how remarkable the forgotten reservoir truly was. Excavations carefully removed centuries of accumulated earth, exposing rows of beautifully preserved columns, brick vaults, and sophisticated drainage systems. Researchers documented construction techniques that demonstrated the remarkable precision of Byzantine engineering. Every newly uncovered section provided valuable information about how Constantinople managed its water supply during one of the most important periods of its history. Although often compared with the Basilica cistern, the Theodosius cistern possesses its own distinctive character. Its proportions differ, its architectural details vary. The arrangement of columns reflects a separate construction project designed for a specific part of the city's water network. Rather than simply copying another reservoir, Byzantine engineers adapted each cistern to local conditions, available space, and the practical demands of supplying water across an expanding imperial capital. Together, the two structures reveal the remarkable scale of Constantinople's underground infrastructure. The rediscovery of the cistern has also transformed archaeological understanding of the city itself. Modern laser scanning, structural analysis, and conservation techniques allow researchers to study every brick and column without damaging the ancient fabric. Lighting now reveals architectural details that remained hidden in darkness for centuries. Visitors can walk through spaces that only engineers and maintenance workers once entered, experiencing the hidden world that supported life above ground for generations. Today, the Theodosius cistern stands as a reminder that history often survives beneath our feet rather than before our eyes. While magnificent palaces, churches, and monuments dominate the skyline of Istanbul, some of the city's greatest achievements remain underground, invisible until rediscovered by archaeology. Its silent columns no longer support a reservoir filled with water. Instead, they support something equally valuable: the fortified granary of Ksar Sultan. The word Ksar refers to a fortified storage complex found throughout parts of Tunisia and neighbouring regions. These remarkable structures were developed by Amazigh, or Berber communities, who adapted to one of the harshest environments on Earth. Rainfall was unpredictable. Harvests could vary dramatically from year to year. Food security became one of the greatest challenges of desert life. Rather than storing crops inside individual homes, entire communities created fortified granaries where precious supplies could be protected for months, or even years. Ksar Sultan is among the finest surviving examples of this unique architectural tradition, believed to date largely from the 15th century. Although some sections may preserve earlier building practices, the complex consists of hundreds of small vaulted storage rooms known as ghorfas. These chambers are stacked several stories high, creating walls that resemble giant honeycombs rising above the courtyard below. The result is both beautiful and remarkably efficient. Every available space serves a practical purpose. Each ghorfa belonged to a particular family. Inside, people stored grain, olive oil, dates, dried food, seeds for future harvests, and other valuable possessions. The thick earthen walls protected supplies from the intense desert heat, while the elevated chambers reduced moisture and discouraged pests. Heavy wooden doors secured each storage room, allowing families to preserve their harvest until it was needed. In an unforgiving climate, these granaries represented security itself. The architecture also reflects an understanding of defence. Southern Tunisia has long been crossed by caravan routes, linking the Mediterranean with the Sahara. Trade brought opportunity, but also danger. Raiding parties occasionally threatened isolated settlements. By concentrating valuable food supplies within heavily fortified complexes, communities could better protect their resources. Narrow entrances, high storage chambers, and enclosed courtyards made the granary easier to defend during times of conflict. The building itself became a guardian of survival. Constructing such a complex required extraordinary planning. Builders used locally available stone, mud brick, lime mortar, and palm timber. The vaulted roofs distributed weight evenly, allowing additional chambers to be stacked above without collapsing the lower levels. The narrow passageways also helped create shade, reducing temperatures inside the courtyard during the hottest hours of the day. Every feature reflects generations of practical knowledge shaped by the desert environment. Yet Qasr Ulad Sultan was more than a warehouse. It served as a meeting place where families gathered during harvest seasons, shared news, settled disputes, and strengthened community ties. People travelled from surrounding villages to deposit or collect their stored crops. The complex became both an economic centre and a social one, binding together communities that lived across wide stretches of arid countryside. Its walls protected not only food, but also cooperation and trust. Archaeologists studying the site have gained valuable insights into traditional Amazigh society. Unlike monumental cities built by emperors, Qasr Ulad Sultan reflects the ingenuity of ordinary farming communities. The arrangement of storage rooms reveals systems of ownership, resource management, and communal organisation that developed without large central governments. The granary demonstrates how architecture can emerge directly from environmental necessity rather than royal ambition. Its greatest achievement was not luxury, but resilience. Although many sewer once stood across southern Tunisia, time has not treated them all kindly. Some gradually collapsed through neglect. Others were abandoned as modern storage methods replaced traditional practices. Qasr Ulad Sultan survived largely because of its robust construction and increasing recognition of its cultural importance. Extensive conservation efforts now seek to preserve its fragile earthen architecture against erosion, weather, and the pressures of tourism. Each restored wall protects centuries of inherited knowledge. The site's dramatic appearance has also attracted filmmakers from around the world. Its maze of stacked gorfers and desert surroundings created the perfect setting for fictional worlds, introducing millions of viewers to a place they might otherwise never have discovered. Yet beyond its cinematic fame lies a far richer story. Every chamber represents the hopes of families preparing for uncertain seasons. Every wall reflects generations who understood that survival depended not only upon harvesting food, but upon protecting it wisely. Today, standing within the quiet courtyard of Qasr Ulad Sultan, it is easy to imagine the bustle that once filled these narrow passages, farmers climbing wooden ladders with sacks of grain, merchants discussing harvests, children running between the towering rows of storage chambers, and elders watching over the community's most valuable possessions. Jiaohe, ancient city, rising from a lonely plateau in China's far western Xinjiang region. An entire city stands frozen in time. Its streets remain visible. Its temples still cast long shadows across the earth. Its homes, government offices, watchtowers, and monasteries continue to occupy the same positions they did more than 1,000 years ago. Yet unlike many ancient cities, Jiaohe was not rebuilt. It was never covered by modern development. Instead, it was quietly abandoned, leaving behind one of the world's best preserved ancient mud-built cities. Walking through its silent avenues today feels less like visiting an archaeological site and more like stepping directly into the past. Jiaohe was founded more than 2,000 years ago. Its remarkable location made it almost impossible to overlook. The city occupied a long natural island, a plateau surrounded on three sides by deep river valleys carved through the desert landscape. Steep cliffs protected its edges, creating natural defensive walls without the need for massive stone fortifications. Only a few narrow entrances connected the settlement with the outside world. Nature itself became the city's greatest defense. The settlement flourished because of its position along the Silk Road. For centuries, merchants travelled across Central Asia carrying silk, spices, precious stones, paper, glass, and countless other goods. Jiaohe became an important stop where traders could rest, exchange products, and gather information before continuing their long journeys between China, Persia, India, and the Mediterranean world. It was more than a marketplace. It was a meeting point for civilizations. Unlike many ancient cities built with stone or fired brick, Jiaohe was carved directly into the plateau itself. Builders shaped homes, courtyards, roads, and public buildings from compact layers of earth known as loess. Additional walls were constructed using rammed earth and mud brick. Because timber was relatively scarce, architecture relied heavily upon the strength of the landscape itself. Rather than forcing nature to fit the city was carefully shaped around the land. Its urban planning was remarkably sophisticated. A broad central avenue divided the settlement. Government buildings occupied one district. Residential neighbourhoods filled another. Buddhist monasteries and temples stood in carefully planned religious quarters. Defensive towers overlooked the surrounding valleys. Narrow streets separated individual homes, creating an organised city whose layout still remains clearly visible after centuries of abandonment. Even today, visitors can easily follow the routes once walked by merchants and officials. Religion played an important role in Jiaohe's history. As Buddhism spread along the Silk Road, the city became home to impressive temples, meditation halls, and monasteries. Pilgrims travelling between India and China often passed through the region, bringing new ideas, sacred texts, and artistic traditions. Excavations have uncovered statues, murals, and architectural remains that demonstrate how cultural exchange transformed the spiritual life of the city. Jiaohe became both a commercial centre and a religious crossroads. Archaeologists have also discovered evidence of sophisticated administration. Government compounds, tax collection offices, storage facilities, and official residences reveal a highly organised society capable of managing trade across vast distances. Written documents found throughout the region describe legal matters, military affairs, land ownership, and commercial agreements. Together, these discoveries paint a picture of a thriving city connected to powerful regional kingdoms and international trade networks. Despite its prosperity, Jiaohe eventually entered a period of decline. Changing trade routes gradually reduced its importance. Political conflicts reshaped Central Asia. Then, during the 13th century, the Mongol invasions devastated many Silk Road settlements. Although historians continue debating the precise sequence of events, Jiaohe was eventually abandoned. Without a permanent population to maintain its buildings, the city slowly fell silent. Yet unlike many ancient settlements, no later, city rose upon its ruins. Ironically, the harsh desert climate became its greatest protector. The region receives very little rainfall. The dry air slowed erosion, allowing walls, temples, roads, and entire neighbourhoods to survive with extraordinary clarity. Many ancient mud brick cities disappeared centuries ago. Jiaohe endured because the desert preserved what human history left behind. Its empty streets became a vast archaeological archive waiting to be explored. Today, Jiaohe Ancient City stands as one of the finest surviving examples of an earthen city anywhere in the world. Recognised as part of the Silk Road's World Heritage Network, it offers archaeologists an unparalleled opportunity to study urban life along one of history's greatest trade routes. Its silent avenues, towering ruins, and carefully planned neighbourhoods remind us that great civilizations are not defined solely by kings or empires, but also by the cities where ordinary people traded, prayed, worked, and built communities that connected continents. Standing upon the windswept plateau of Xinjiang, the burial mounds of Khalat al-Bahrain. Across the small island nation of Bahrain, thousands of low earthen hills rise quietly from the desert. At first glance, they appear to be little more than natural mounds scattered across the landscape. Many visitors pass them without a second look, yet beneath these gentle rises lie one of the largest prehistoric cemeteries ever discovered anywhere on Earth. For centuries, these silent hills concealed the lives, beliefs, and traditions of an ancient civilization that flourished long before the rise of Greece or Rome. Today, archaeologists know them as the Bahrain Burial Mounds, a vast funerary landscape connected to the ancient kingdom of Dilmun. More than 4,000 years ago, Bahrain occupied a remarkable position in the Persian Gulf. Ancient Mesopotamian texts described a prosperous land called Dilmun, a place famous for trade, fresh water, and wealth. Merchants travelling between Mesopotamia, The Indus Valley and the Arabian Peninsula regularly stopped here. Ships carried copper, pearls, timber, precious stones, and luxury goods through its busy harbours. Dilmun became one of the earliest international trading centres in human history. At the heart of this ancient kingdom stood the settlement now known as Qalat al-Bahrain. Although later civilizations built forts upon the site, excavations beneath the fortress have revealed the remains of the Bronze Age city itself. Wide streets, residential districts, administrative buildings, temples, and workshops demonstrate that Dilmun possessed a sophisticated urban society. Just beyond this thriving city, its people created something even more extraordinary, an immense landscape devoted entirely to the dead. The burial mounds stretch across large areas of Bahrain. Originally, there may have been more than 100,000 individual tombs. Even today, tens of thousands remain visible despite centuries of development. No other prehistoric cemetery of comparable scale survives so completely. From the air, the mounds resemble waves rolling endlessly across the desert, each one marking the final resting place of an individual or family. Together, they form an archaeological landscape unlike anywhere else in the world. Most mounds appear simple from the outside, a circular hill of stone and earth, usually only a few meters high, but excavations reveal carefully constructed burial chambers hidden within. Builders lined the tombs with limestone blocks, creating central chambers where the deceased were placed alongside personal belongings. After burial, the chamber was sealed, and the mound carefully built above it. Each hill became a permanent monument visible across the surrounding landscape. Archaeological excavations have uncovered an astonishing variety of grave goods: pottery, copper tools, jewellery, shell ornaments, stone vessels, weapons, and delicate beads imported from distant lands. These objects reveal that Dilmun maintained extensive commercial connections reaching across thousands of kilometres. The possessions buried with the dead also suggest beliefs about an afterlife, where personal items continue to hold importance beyond death. Every tomb preserves both material wealth and spiritual tradition. Not all burial mounds were identical. Most belonged to ordinary members of society, but some royal mounds were built on a far grander scale. These elite tombs contained multiple chambers, monumental stone architecture, and exceptionally valuable objects. Their size reflects a society with clear social distinctions, where rulers and influential families received elaborate funerary treatment. The contrast between ordinary and royal burials provides archaeologists with valuable insights into the organisation of ancient Dilmun. For many years, the true age of these mysterious hills remained unknown. Early travellers often assumed they were natural formations. Only systematic archaeological excavation during the 20th century revealed their extraordinary significance. Researchers carefully documented burial chambers, human remains, construction methods, and grave goods. Scientific analysis showed that most of the cemetery dates to the early Dilmun period, roughly between 2200 and 1750 BCE, making it one of the most important Bronze Age burial landscapes ever investigated. The burial mounds also reveal something remarkable about ancient society. Unlike many civilizations where monumental tombs were reserved for kings alone, thousands of ordinary people were buried beneath carefully constructed mounds. This suggests that formal burial practices were widely shared across the population. Families invested considerable effort in honouring their dead, creating enduring monuments that remained visible for generations. Death became a shared cultural tradition rather than an exclusive privilege. Protecting this extraordinary landscape has become an ongoing challenge. Modern urban expansion has reduced the number of surviving mounds. Road construction, housing developments, and natural erosion have all threatened parts of the cemetery. Conservation programs now seek to preserve what remains, recognizing the burial fields as one of Bahrain's greatest archaeological treasures. Together with Qalat al-Bahrain, the cemetery provides an unmatched window into the civilization of ancient Dilmun. Nokala, the forgotten fortress of ancient Colchis. Hidden among the green river valleys of western Georgia, where forests blanket the hills and mist lingers above the water each morning, the ruins of an ancient fortress quietly overlook the landscape. Broken stone walls trace the outline of a once powerful city. Ancient gateways still stand where soldiers and merchants once passed. Beneath layers of earth, archaeologists continue uncovering evidence of kingdoms, empires, and civilizations that shaped the history of the Caucasus for more than 2,000 years. This is Nokkalakivi, one of Georgia's most important archaeological sites, and a place where legend and history meet. Long before medieval castles dominated the region, Nokkalakivi stood within the ancient kingdom of Colchis. To the ancient Greeks, Colchis was a land of extraordinary wealth and mystery. It was here, according to mythology, that Jason and the Argonauts journeyed in search of the legendary Golden Fleece. Although the famous story belongs to myth, the kingdom itself was very real. Archaeological discoveries confirm that Colchis flourished as an important political and commercial power along the eastern shores of the Black Sea. Nokkalakivi occupied an ideal defensive position. The city stood beside the Tekeri River, protected by steep cliffs on one side and strong fortifications on the other. Anyone approaching the settlement faced formidable natural barriers before reaching its massive walls. This strategic location allowed rulers to control important routes linking the Black Sea coast with the mountainous interior of the Caucasus. Trade, military movement, and communication all passed through this vital corridor. Excavations suggest that people first settled the area many centuries before the Roman Empire expanded into the region. Over time, the settlement developed into a substantial fortified city. Its defensive walls enclosed residential districts, administrative buildings, religious structures, and workshops. Each generation expanded upon the work of those before it, creating an urban centre that evolved continuously through changing political landscapes. The city became both a military stronghold and a thriving centre of daily life. The Romans soon recognised the importance of Nokkalakivi. During the 1st century CE, the fortress became part of Rome's eastern frontier. Imperial engineers strengthened the city's fortifications, constructing imposing stone walls, massive towers, and carefully designed gateways. Roman influence introduced new architectural styles, military organisation, and commercial connections. While local traditions continued to shape everyday life within the settlement, the city became a meeting place between two worlds. Archaeological excavations have revealed an extraordinary variety of discoveries: stone fortifications, brick buildings, bathhouses, roads, drainage systems, pottery, coins, glassware, and metal tools have all emerged from beneath the soil. Each layer represents a different chapter in the city's long history. Rather than preserving a single period, Nokkalakivi records centuries of continuous occupation, allowing archaeologists to trace how communities adapted to changing rulers and cultures. One of the most impressive discoveries has been the sophisticated water management system. Channels carried fresh water throughout the settlement, while carefully engineered drainage protected buildings from flooding. These practical features demonstrate that ancient builders understood far more than defensive architecture. They also created an organised urban environment capable of supporting a large permanent population. Even the invisible infrastructure beneath the streets reflected remarkable engineering skill. Following the decline of Roman influence, Nokkalakivi remained an important regional centre under the Byzantine Empire and later Georgian kingdoms. Churches were constructed within the fortress walls. Older buildings were repaired or adapted for new purposes. The city continued serving as both a political and religious centre, while surrounding powers competed for influence across the Caucasus. Its history became a story of resilience rather than sudden transformation. Modern archaeological research has transformed our understanding of the site. Excavations continue to uncover previously unknown buildings, burial areas, and defensive structures. Careful scientific analysis of pottery, animal bones, plant remains, and imported goods allows researchers to reconstruct everyday life with increasing accuracy. Rather than focusing only upon kings and battles, the archaeology of Nokkalakivi reveals the ordinary people who farmed, crafted, traded, and raised families within the protection of its walls. The surrounding landscape also plays an important role in preserving the site. Dense vegetation concealed many ancient structures for centuries, shielding them from extensive development. Today, conservation teams work carefully to protect exposed walls from weathering while continuing systematic excavations. Khirbet al-Mafjar, the desert palace of the Umayyads, on the edge of the Jordan Valley, not far from the ancient city of Jericho, the remains of an extraordinary palace emerge from the desert. Broken arches stand beneath an endless blue sky. Stone walls outline grand halls that once echoed with music and conversation. Fragments of intricate carving still decorate fallen columns, and beneath the dust, one of the finest collections of early Islamic art ever discovered continues to astonish archaeologists. This is Khirbet al-Mafjar, often called Hisham's Palace, a remarkable archaeological site that offers a rare glimpse into the wealth, creativity, and ambition of the Umayyad Caliphate. The palace was constructed during the early 8th century CE, a period when the Umayyad Empire stretched from the Iberian Peninsula in the west to Central Asia in the east. Its exact patron remains the subject of scholarly discussion. Many historians associate the complex with Caliph Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik, while others suggest it was completed during the reign of his nephew, Al-Walid II. Although the debate continues, there is little doubt that the palace reflected the confidence of one of the largest empires of its age. Unlike fortified castles built for defence, Khirbet al-Mafjar was designed as a luxurious desert estate. The complex included an impressive palace, a mosque, bathhouses, gardens, courtyards, fountains, and extensive agricultural land. It served as both a royal retreat and an administrative centre, providing a place where rulers could escape crowded cities while still overseeing nearby estates and trade routes. Comfort, beauty, and prestige shaped every aspect of its design. Archaeological excavations reveal extraordinary craftsmanship throughout the complex. Walls were decorated with finely carved limestone panels, displaying vines, flowers, animals, and intricate geometric patterns. Stucco ornament covered ceilings and archways with astonishing precision. These decorations combined influences from Byzantine, Persian, and local artistic traditions, demonstrating how the Umayyad world brought together ideas from many different cultures. The palace became a masterpiece of cultural exchange. Perhaps the site's most famous discovery lies within its bathhouse. Here, archaeologists uncovered one of the largest and most spectacular mosaic floors ever found in the ancient Near East. Made from hundreds of thousands of tiny coloured stone tesserae, the mosaic stretches across a vast reception hall. Its detailed geometric patterns remain remarkably well preserved after more than 13 centuries. At one end, a famous scene depicts a lion attacking a gazelle beneath a fruit-bearing tree. The image has inspired generations of historians, who continue debating its symbolic meaning. Some interpret it as a representation of power, others see it as a reflection of peace and conflict existing side by side. Its true message remains uncertain. The palace also demonstrates remarkable engineering. Sophisticated water channels carried fresh water throughout the complex. Bathhouses included heated rooms, warm bathing chambers, and cold pools. Using systems adapted from earlier Roman technology, underground furnaces generated heat beneath stone floors, creating an advanced form of central heating known as a hypocaust. These innovations transformed the palace into a place of exceptional comfort despite the surrounding desert climate. Excavations have uncovered pottery, glass vessels, coins, metal tools, and fragments of painted plaster that provide valuable insight into everyday life within the palace. Researchers believe craftsmen, servants, officials, and agricultural workers all lived and worked nearby. The complex was not simply an isolated royal residence. It functioned as the centre of a productive estate, supporting both luxury and practical administration. Its prosperity depended upon the surrounding landscape as much as its magnificent architecture. Yet the palace's flourishing life proved remarkably brief. Before the complex could enjoy centuries of continuous occupation, disaster struck. A powerful earthquake, probably in the middle of the 8th century, caused extensive structural damage across the Jordan Valley. Many buildings collapsed. Soon afterward, political change brought the rise of the Abbasid Caliphate, shifting the empire's centre of power away from the region. The damaged palace was gradually abandoned, leaving its unfinished story buried beneath layers of sand and rubble. Modern archaeology has transformed our understanding of Khirbet al-Mafjar. Beginning in the 20th century, excavators carefully uncovered collapsed walls, bathhouses, reception halls, and elaborate decorative elements hidden beneath centuries of accumulated debris. Conservation specialists continue stabilizing fragile carvings and mosaics, using modern technology to preserve one of the finest surviving examples of early Islamic architecture. Kaman Kalahuyuk, excavating 4,000 years of history. In the quiet countryside of central Turkey, far from the country's famous coastal ruins, a low earthen mound rises gently above the surrounding fields. To passing travellers, it appears unremarkable. Just another hill shaped by time, but beneath its surface, layer upon layer of forgotten civilizations lie stacked one above another, waiting patiently to be uncovered. This is Kaman Kalahuyuk, one of Anatolia's most important archaeological excavations, where every season of digging reveals another chapter in a story spanning nearly 4,000 years. Kaman Kalahuyuk is what archaeologists call a huyuk, or settlement mound. Unlike natural hills, these mounds are created by generations of human occupation. People build houses. Those buildings eventually collapse or are destroyed. New structures rise upon the ruins, century after century. The settlement slowly grows higher. By carefully excavating each layer, archaeologists can travel backward through time, reconstructing thousands of years of continuous human history. Few places preserve such an unbroken archaeological record. The site lies in the heart of Anatolia, a region that has long connected Eastern and Western civilizations. Ancient trade routes crossed these fertile plains, bringing merchants, craftsmen, ideas, and technologies from across the Near East. Because of its strategic location, Kaman Kalahuyuk witnessed the rise and fall of numerous kingdoms, each leaving traces beneath the soil. The mound became a silent archive of changing civilizations. Excavations began during the 1980s under the direction of the Japanese Institute of Anatolian Archaeology. Since then, researchers from Japan and Turkey have worked together every excavation season, carefully exposing buildings, roads, storage areas, workshops, and thousands of everyday objects. Unlike dramatic treasure hunts often shown in films, their work progresses slowly, sometimes uncovering only a few centimeters of soil each day. Patience, rather than speed, is the archaeologist's greatest tool. One of the site's greatest strengths is its remarkably long sequence of occupation. Archaeological layers reveal settlements from the early Bronze Age, the Assyrian colony period, the Hittite Empire, the Iron Age, the Phrygian Kingdom, and later civilizations. Each culture reused the same landscape while adapting it to new political realities. Rather than replacing the past, every generation built directly upon it. The mound gradually became a vertical record of Anatolian history. Excavations have uncovered houses, defensive walls, storage buildings, furnaces, pottery workshops, and carefully constructed streets. Thousands of everyday objects have emerged from the earth. Pottery vessels, bronze tools, iron weapons, jewellery, bone implements, glass beads, and agricultural equipment all help reconstruct daily life. Together, these discoveries reveal how ordinary families worked, cooked, traded, and adapted to changing circumstances over many centuries. Among the site's most significant discoveries are remarkably early examples of iron objects. For many years, historians believed iron technology spread gradually after the collapse of the Hittite Empire. Finds from Kaman Kalahuyuk have added important new evidence to this discussion. Scientific analysis suggests that iron production and use in Anatolia may have been more complex than previously understood. Rather than providing simple answers, the discoveries have encouraged archaeologists to ask entirely new questions about the development of ancient metallurgy. The site has also yielded thousands of carbonized seeds, animal bones, and plant remains. These fragile discoveries allow specialists to reconstruct ancient environments with surprising accuracy. Researchers can identify crops cultivated thousands of years ago, determine what animals people raised, and even trace changes in climate over long periods. Archaeology here is not limited to walls and monuments. tiny fragments of everyday life often reveal the greatest stories. Another remarkable aspect of Kaman-Kalahuyuk is its commitment to conservation. Objects recovered during excavation are carefully cleaned, documented, and preserved inside nearby laboratories. The surrounding area also includes an archaeological museum and botanical garden, demonstrating how research, education, and environmental restoration can work together. The project has become an international model for protecting archaeological heritage while making it accessible to the public. Tall Zira'ah, the hill that preserved 5,000 years, in the fertile hills of northern Jordan, a quiet mound rises above the Jordan Valley. From a distance, it looks like an ordinary hill surrounded by farmland. There are no towering temples, no massive pyramids, no towering stone fortresses. Yet beneath this modest rise, archaeologists have uncovered one of the longest, continuous records of human settlement in the entire southern Levant. This is Tall Zira'ah, a place where nearly every layer of earth reveals another forgotten chapter of human history. Tall Zira'ah is what archaeologists call a tell, a settlement mound formed through thousands of years of continuous occupation, generation after generation. People built homes, shops, storehouses, and defensive walls. When buildings collapsed or were abandoned, new structures were raised directly above them. Over thousands of years, these layers accumulated into a hill created almost entirely by human activity. Every meter of soil represents centuries of changing civilizations. The settlement's location explains why people remained here for so long. Tall Zira'ah overlooks fertile agricultural land near reliable springs and seasonal rivers. The surrounding region provided excellent conditions for farming, animal husbandry, and trade. Ancient roads connected the Jordan Valley with the highlands and the eastern desert. Anyone living here could cultivate crops while maintaining contact with neighbouring kingdoms throughout the Levant. The landscape offered both opportunity and security. Excavations have shown that people first settled Tall Zira'ah during the early Bronze Age, more than 5,000 years ago, remarkably. The site remained occupied through many of the major periods of Near Eastern history. Archaeologists have identified layers belonging to the Bronze Age, Iron Age, Persian period, Hellenistic era, Roman rule, Byzantine times, and the early Islamic period. Few archaeological sites preserve such a continuous sequence of occupation. The excavation has revealed an impressive variety of structures: stone houses, storage rooms, courtyards, workshops, streets. And sections of defensive walls have all emerged from beneath the mound. Each occupation layer reflects changing architectural styles and new ways of organising urban life. Some buildings were carefully repaired for generations, others were demolished to make way for entirely new neighbourhoods. The evolving city mirrors the changing societies that lived there. Thousands of artefacts have been recovered during excavation: pottery vessels, grinding stones, bronze and iron tools, jewellery, coins, glass fragments, bone implements, and decorative objects all help reconstruct everyday life. Rather than focusing only on rulers and monuments, these discoveries reveal the ordinary routines of farming, cooking, craftsmanship, trade, and family life. The smallest artefacts often provide the clearest picture of the past. One of the site's greatest archaeological strengths is its exceptional preservation, because successive communities built directly upon earlier settlements. Older layers remained sealed beneath later construction. This protected walls, floors, fireplaces, storage pits, and countless artefacts from later disturbance. By excavating carefully from the newest layers downward, researchers can reconstruct thousands of years of gradual cultural change with remarkable precision. Every excavation trench becomes a journey backward through time. Environmental archaeology has also played a major role at Tall Zira'ah. Researchers have recovered charred seeds, animal bones, pollen, and plant remains preserved within ancient occupation layers. These tiny discoveries reveal what crops people cultivated, which animals they raised, and how the surrounding landscape changed over millennia. Combined with archaeological evidence, they provide an unusually detailed picture of how ancient communities adapted to shifting climates and political conditions. The site also illustrates how civilizations rarely disappear overnight. Instead, communities gradually adapted to changing empires and new cultural influences. Canaanite traditions gave way to Iron Age societies. Persian administrators were followed by Greek and Roman influence. Christian churches later appeared during the Byzantine period, before the arrival of early Islamic communities. Rather than replacing one another completely, these cultures often built upon existing foundations, leaving subtle traces within every archaeological layer. And today, Tul Zira continues to be an active archaeological project. Each excavation season uncovers new buildings, additional artifacts, and fresh evidence about life in ancient Jordan. Modern technologies, including digital mapping, laboratory analysis, and environmental sampling, allow researchers to understand far more than earlier generations of archaeologists could have imagined, even after decades of